Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we talk about smart nonsense. We're back at it again.
Cleanest you've ever done it. Congratulations.
Yeah. Was
That's
I
what'll
thinking
happen.
nail it as I did it? I was.
No.
Still
We
didn't
talked
get
about that
rattled.
last episode. Sometimes you can just say things and move on. You don't always got to be looking in the rearview mirror,
Well, that was in the front, the windshield. I was looking through the windshield on that one.
Okay.
Because that was like presently I was moving and thinking about myself moving.
And what are we doing
we
now?
made it. We made it.
What are we doing
I actually should have given you that intro because I did the last one. But last episode, we were stoked in a good way. Well, maybe stoked. Where were we? We're looking at storyboards. Basically,
We should probably do
storyboards
these
came
daily.
out.
We should probably get back to doing these daily. That's
Well, what we're gonna do is
maybe point number 1.
we're gonna record our brainstorm sessions in the first place. So instead of a recap, we're just in it.
Cap.
It's cap, dude. And not the way kids use it. It's no cap. No cap. So what were we doing? Well, we have this show, right? Everyone knows that we're making a cartoon. All right. The transcendence.
Everyone knows. Like we hardly know.
People. No, we've
We're
committed
making
to
a
it
cartoon.
verbally to many people. Now I no longer identify as a YouTuber. I'm a cartoonist. So I tell people I'm making cartoons.
Even that you're not, though, because a cartoonist can draw. But I think you'd.
I stare at a whiteboard. Is there a
I think you're
term
a
for that?
creator. I think
Creator.
I think you're a creator, which actually spans YouTube and the show. You could have identified as a creator the entire time.
Yeah, or a teacher.
Or a teacher.
Too.
Then they're gonna be like public school, private school.
Dude,
you're like
very
smart
public
nonsense
because it doesn't make any money. But it will someday. So what are we doing? Okay, basically, like we have all these views. Then this guy Sean Purry, he comes to us. He's like, "Hey, how about you make an SAT course?" We're like, "No, we want to make this cartoon." He's like, "Okay, let me fund that." So now we take this idea seriously, start thinking big. What could we be? We want to be the next South Park originally, or like a Family Guy because that actually makes us laugh more. But then like we kind of start spiraling.
As we dug deeper,
we're kind of like all these shows are bullshit. It's like the same.
They're good.
They're good. They're funny.
Rick and Morty.
Funny.
Actually, Rick and Morty's probably better than the other two. Never watched it.
It's just not special. I think like everyone in the cartoon world, even in the Simpsons guy's book, this guy, his name's Mike Reese, I think, read his book. He started with the Simpsons from day one, and then he tried to make his own cartoon. It's kind of like we call it the Apple effect. Like you work at Apple, so you think you can design everything beautifully, and every company that you touch is going to just work. He went to start his own cartoon and did it with like a divorced dad living in a city. And like his takeaway from that was, I tried this cartoon. It failed because I didn't make it about a family. And every successful cartoon is always about a family, which is kind of true. Like Family Guy, South Park, like Futurama, American Dad, like go all the way back to like the Flintstones. Yeah. It's like always about a family.
It's all very relatable.
Yeah. The problem is it ain't special.
The problem is I think there's very few winners.
Right.
There are like 5 winners on TV right now.
Just like,
and you know how many family shows probably got spun up and pitched to networks? It's probably happening every day, dozens of them, and don't go anywhere.
Well, literally, that's what we were doing. That's what we did. It was like, okay, we're going to take Dirt, and he's going to live in Bureaucracity, and it's basically a city like 100 years in the future or something, just taking the worst parts of society, like the trend we're going on, and just taken to the extreme. So like everyone lives in a super like gray, black world because, you know, like it's hard to pick colors. People don't like that. You're just like staring at monitors all day. I don't know.
It's like dialing up AI 100 times, dialing up minimalism 100 times, dialing up work 100 times. And we end up in this gray world that's monotony. You just you get in your car with your horse blinders, you go to work, you do the job you hate. And you do that for all of time.
Right. And
the last exaggeration is like the entire city is made of, the buildings are made of cubicles, the houses are made of cubicles. Dird lives in like a filing cabinet, for instance.
Right.
Kind of funny,
Right.
but like still in that narrow like
Well,
vein of families on TV, work, whatever.
so the like special thing about the show is Dird is the only person in this city, Bureaucracity, or this future world that has curiosity. It's like the only person that actually cares to learn things. And so the world is super gray, and then he'll like get some spark for some reason he wants to learn like what's how ants work, or like what the hell is a brick or whatever. And then he just gets really excited about this thing, shoves his
Easy
thumb in
with
his
the
butt, and he
brick.
blasts off into the past to like learn about how bricks work or ants or whatever it might be. Just some random topic. And that's like his superpower, and that world is super colorful. And he like comes back to like teach people about what he learned, and no one cares. And it's kind of just like
And it was
a
really just
running gag.
writing. It was really just writing basically ourselves and our own lives into Dirt,
Right.
which I think is also a very common thing to do.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Um, what basically happened was at the end of last podcast, we started going through the storyboards of what was going to be
Oh,
the
we did that on the last podcast.
Bureaucracy
Yeah.
pilot. Yeah, we started going through. It was cool, but almost the immediate takeaway after was, or even maybe even during, I don't
For
remember.
you, just talk about the car.
Well, I just saw the car scene, and I'm like,
Which by the way was like 3 frames. It's like, as in like 1 second, 24 frames. Like it was barely anything, but you saw that. You're like, it's
just didn't feel right. Like it didn't feel special. Like we're kind of the whole time it's been juxtaposed, like putting up next to it SpongeBob as like the pinnacle. This is what we want to make. It's just magical in every way. And I'm like, dude, Dird's sitting in like a Toyota Corolla. That's not special.
not
That's not
right.
SpongeBob. And it's like that gut feeling, like this is cool, but it's just not it. And that feels like the world where we're going to be competing with the Family Guy, the South Park, the whatever, Futurama, whatever it might be. It's just like everyone's doing that. And like listening to SpongeBob, they're like, we don't want to like put technology. We don't want to put anything like SpongeBob doesn't even use like phones often. Like they'll have a clam phone every once in a while if they have to, but like cars, they don't really try and use that often. Like they're trying to just invent an entire new world from scratch. And I'm like, it just doesn't feel
And
right.
that's why it was
And I
relevant
think
25
you had
years
that too.
ago, and it's still relevant today.
Right. Right. So then what's annoying on this journey is like creating everything from scratch is just a muscle we've never had to test. It's like we get excited
We're
about
video
one idea. It's
guys.
like, right.
Like you said, like you're a cartoonist now. It's like, no, we're video editors, and so like our muscle is always in like us on camera. How do you shoot the thing? What's the live action? Like, how are we gonna edit this in post? Like, we can do that all day long.
Maybe. I don't even know if I'm good at that, but
Oh,
we're definitely not cartoonists by trade. So like, it's just like we're realizing the brilliance of Steven Hillenburg. Is that his first name? Hillenburg?
yeah,
I've been saying
creator of SpongeBob.
Hillenburg. Yeah, it's just like we're trying to figure out like how he came up with this idea, because nothing is like SpongeBob. Really, like just ignores everything, creates an entire beautiful world. Fucking SpongeBob lives in a pineapple under the sea. Like, how crazy is that? And we'd get
A
frustrated because it's
sponge,
like,
a sea star, a fry cook sponge, a sea
right,
star. Their mortal enemy lives between them, who's an octopus. SpongeBob's best friend is a squirrel that lives in an air bubble underwater. He works for a crab that's addicted to money. It's like,
right.
come on.
It's just so unique, so brilliant. And then it's like,
Mr. Krabs'
how does he
daughter
get
is a
this
whale.
idea?
Don't know how that happens.
Dude, we don't talk. That's like the when the kid's Chinese and the parents are both white, and
Oh, and
in Friday
Almost
Beers or
Friday
whatever. Almost
sketch.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar idea. But like we just start thinking like, hey, what we're doing, we're falling into the trap that everyone falls into, where it's like sort of like
We're going to be
reason by
2x better,
analogy. Yeah.
if that.
and
10%
that's just
better. Are we trying to be
not the
10%
way.
better?
Uh, uh, sorry, dude.
Am I talking over? Is there a lag? Am I
Well,
talking over
I'm
you?
talking the whole time, so at some point you got to talk, but I don't give you space to talk. So my bad, dude. Right. Do you want to be 10% or 10x? And like the whole Peter Thiel thing is like, don't even try and compete in the like little x's. Like you want the 10x or nothing. And that's how we approach everything. Granted, Clipped isn't necessarily a 10x yet, which has always kind of bugged me in the background. I think that's why it's not like a crazy big company. It just works well. Um, but that's fine
Not
in most
everything
of the
has to
world.
be a 10x, but the big swings do.
Right. Like that's this SAT company that we're kind of working on now. We're just okay with it being 2x in the meantime, and then we're going to circle back and take it 10x. But like the 2x can still be like tens of millions of dollars
Great
potentially.
businesses.
So what is the point? We're trying to figure out how do we take this car scene and this world that we thought we loved and just basically scrap it or like pivot it or something to like make it special,
Or like
because
we
it's
don't
just
even
not
know.
doing it.
And it was mostly us, mostly you actually, just sitting for 48 hours with the SpongeBob Street, a
Well,
picture of SpongeBob Street. Pineapple, SpongeBob's house, Squidward's house, Patrick's house, a pineapple, an Easter Island statue, and a rock. And
yeah.
80% of the show takes place in front of those houses on that street. And you were looking for this elegance. You're like, it's beautifully
Well,
simple.
here's what we were struggling with was like one, looking at this pilot. The first problem that we saw was, okay, we're in Bureaucracity. It's all people. Like Dird kind of looks funny, but like people are just kind of boring. Like we kind of made some interesting characters loosely based on Dird's head, but like it's not special. And from silhouette version, you can't tell that they're special. That's been our whole thing. It's like, dude, like Dirt silhouette of him looks special. You can recognize it from anywhere. We want all the characters to be like that. Same thing with SpongeBob. It's like it's perfect. So we didn't have that if we focus on people. And so I don't know. At some point, I guess after the call, we were kind of brainstorming like what could characters be if they weren't people, and that's where somehow we were like the idea of let's just take the most important organisms from history. So like the first unicellular like bacteria thing that was ever formed, and then maybe like the first fish to walk out of water. It's like a walking fish, and then a dinosaur, and so
Right.
on.
So we were stuck, and it's something we've used in shorts, but you were like, we were trying to think of the premise, and we had like Dird has this love interest who's who's just Dird but pink. And then maybe Dird has a best friend, Yanni, who's kind of like a little human boy, and like two other humans. What was the point? The point was you were like, it's just another Family Guy. And so at the end of last week, we were brainstorming like, okay, if not that cast of humans, what's a great cast of like Dird's friends that would have incredible like Walt Disney like silhouettes,
Right.
where when you see Mickey Mouse's ears, you like that's just Disney. That's incredible.
Yeah, and
Dirt has a great silhouette, and we were like, but what are the others? Because it's not humans.
why it's important is we've been saying this a lot, just like texting each other, but like our favorite two letters are IP, intellectual property. It's like
That's how you make money in animation. It's like not really on the show. It's in merch and licensing and toys and movies. It's like the
and now
brand, the art is everything.
we literally can't stop seeing SpongeBob IP in the world. It's like I'm on the subway and I see this chick with like Patrick Star Crocs, and she's got little buttons of all the different characters and like all the
Giblets.
memes. We send memes, and
Gibbets?
it's like gibbets. They're all SpongeBob. It's
You
just
sent me
like
a pair of Timberlands that were blue with like SpongeBob and Patrick jellyfishing, and they're just like
freaking
these beautiful purple
so
jellyfish
cute.
on the boots.
It's just absolutely everywhere. Versus like you don't see really any Family Guy or South Park or even Rick and Morty
Well, I even went
merch.
and because we were texting, and I went and searched like when you're texting on iPhone, you can search the like hashtag images bank, and it's like a bank of GIFs. And I search SpongeBob, and I send you a screenshot of them, and it's like they're just emotions. The SpongeBob GIFs are just
Mm.
emotions. You could use them for like anything. They're like just physically, you can look at them and know exactly what they mean. I then search South Park and send you that, and I'm like, I've never seen any of these gifs or memes in my life. And you made the point, like, whoa, all of the South Park gifs in that screenshot, like 20, 30 of them, they all have to have text captions, like a sentence kind of explaining what's happening at the bottom of them. And like,
Right.
that's got to be a bad sign when it comes to IP.
Got to be
That
a
you
bad
need
sign.
words, that you need words to explain an emotion or whatever's going on.
It's actually an idea in design in general. Uh, what is it? The Design of Everyday Things. That book. That book is basically like if you ever go and like you're trying to open a door, and the door has a sign that says like open or close or pull or push. It's like that just means it's a poorly designed door because the design itself should tell you what needs to be done. And it's like if you need labels on things, it's just
Hillenberg,
bad.
dude.
Um, so I guess it
Nice.
transcends everything. But okay, so the point, we want to have special characters, and so we like this idea of okay, maybe Durd's friends or just the world he lives in includes these most pivotal. Sorry, what?
Pivotable, dude.
What? That
Pivotable.
wasn't even include most pivotal characters. I
Yeah.
don't even know what I was
Most
going for.
pivotal, like
Most
through
important.
history.
Fucking guess that's a weird word to pick, but
Pivotable.
most important characters or organism specimens in the history of life to then be his friends, and that kind of like gets to our theme of like we're gonna explore all of time and
And
just
we could
science and stuff.
shapeshift those characters. And we come up with the single cell organism, a prokaryote, a walking fish, the first fish that left water to walk on land, a dinosaur and their extinctions, kind of interesting, a bipedal ape that went from four-legged to two-legged, and I think that's it. So then Dur, the curious alien.
Yeah, and yeah, we don't even know what he is. Is he an alien or a human? We don't really know. Just always liked his character. Um, so we have like a rough idea of the characters that we might want, but now it's like okay, what
I
I've been
keep having all these ideas about the premise, and I go and I'm talking to like a bunch of people that might work on the show someday, and like we're doing artwork and storyboards with Luisa on our team, and like every time I text you, you're just like, I hear you, but where do they live? Dot dot dot. Like, sounds good,
well,
dude, but oh, where do they live? And like, what are they doing? And like, why?
yeah, like we wanted Dirt to like travel in space and time, and it's just because like he'd be curious, and I'm like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like what's the actual like is it his job somehow or like what is it, and then how do we smash these worlds together? And the hard thing with like inventing something from scratch is like you don't even know if the problem can be solved. It's like it's just there's no roadmap here. It's just like SpongeBob's really cool. Maybe he just had this brilliant once in a lifetime insight, and like we're trying to recreate it, but it's just like it's pure chance, and you're not gonna force chance. And that's kind of what
Although
your
I
brother
did
was
tell
saying.
you, I texted you at
Yeah.
one point, like, I think what's exciting about this from scratch building being so hard is that I think if you can crack that insanely hard problem, you reap all the rewards. And I think a
Right.
lot of these shows, like we're saying at the beginning of this episode, I think a lot of them stopped when it got pretty hard. And so they just did the family thing and the gags and the jokes
Right.
because it's
Well,
way
and
harder to do what Hillenberg did and said, this sponge boy fry cook lives under the sea.
what's also
Took him
interesting
6 months.
is
Took him 6 months to figure out that pitch premise.
right his and after he did that in 6 months, the thing is he took that and he went to like sell it to Cartoon Network or whoever bought it,
Nick?
and Nickelodeon, yeah. So when they bought it, there was basically this woman that wanted to be his assistant, and she wanted to be Hillenberg's assistant. She came in, but she realized there were a lot of like secretaries, and she like didn't want to step on toes, so she went to the secretaries and be like, "Hey, I want to apply for his assistant job, but like you've been here longer, you know him. Do you want to be his assistant? Because that's like a cooler role to have." And the secretaries are just like, no, we don't want to be that. This show's gonna get canceled in like 6 months.
SpongeBob SquarePants?
Fucking
No
SpongeBob.
chance they get renewed after season one.
And it's because it's so crazy, so ludicrous that it's taking a risk. Versus if you go the family route, it's like at least we know it's proven. Like a network can be like, okay, there's been an example in the past, 1,000 examples that have worked. We can like go for this one. And that's kind of why most shows are probably like this, because they're looking for that analogy of it worked over here. But like we're not going to a network. We're just putting this up on our YouTube, ideally. And then like maybe a network buys us after it's proven. But we don't have to like adhere to any rules. We can just make whatever we think is the coolest thing. So it gives us more freedom there. But so now the question is, okay, we like the idea of having special characters that are just these specimens throughout history. We also like Bureaucracity, even though I can't spell it and actually hate just the name of it because I can't spell it or say it sometimes. And then somehow Dird also travels into the past or the future or like wherever he's going.
And maybe he has a family. And
Right.
maybe he has to hide these specimens from his human family.
Right.
We're
So like
we're throwing everything we got. Throwing everything we got. All the devices.
and it's like what's pissing me off is like I don't know, I'm just like staring at a whiteboard all day. Like you've been kind of carrying a lot of the agency stuff that like actually makes us money so that I can stare at a whiteboard all day. So like thank you. But it also fucking drives me crazy because I'm just in this room all day and like I don't see a path forward. But like just searching for this elegant solution of like SpongeBob is beautiful because everything takes place in Bikini Bottom. And like once in a while, maybe he'll go to like Rock Bottom or like outside the water or something. But it's pretty much all there.
Who's there?
Izzy.
On the air.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Rock bottom. You're staring at walls.
But we have like
for
3
2 work
worlds.
days, pretty much.
One like is Dirt an alien potentially because like in some of our worlds, Dirt like comes from another planet and then comes down and like crash lands in Bureaucracity, and now he's like trying to live there. Like we don't fucking know what's going on.
He
really.
time travels every episode.
Yeah, and
his
that's
friends
like,
are
is
these
that just
specimens.
Yeah. So everything's just loosey goosey. It's like this roller coaster of we're super excited about an idea, then we start fleshing it out, and we realize, oh fuck, it's got flaws. It's got flaws. Let's look for something else, and like we're at the bottom. So now I basically, I mean, we're both probably thinking about this, but it's like going through and it's like, how do we find the SpongeBob elegance with like all that we're trying to do? So I got this board.
Well,
I guess we'll throw up an image.
You texted me. I mean, you texted me at like 1 p.m. on. It's now Wednesday. You texted me at like 1 p.m. on Monday. I was kind of busy with other work, and you just texted me that picture, that street of SpongeBob, SpongeBob's pineapple, Squidward's house, and Patrick's rock, and you're like just staring at this, dude. And I kind of ignore it because I'm dealing with other stuff, dealing with big companies, doing work, whatever. I don't text you. 9 hours later, it's like 10 p.m. at night. You send the same thing, just like, hey, dude, still thinking. And then you wake up Tuesday morning and you're like, by the way, just looking at this thing. I'm going to watch a few episodes of SpongeBob, but just by the way, I'm staring at this photo until something works.
It's the North Star. It's just like, this is it. If the world doesn't feel like this, it's wrong. And it's just like super easy to filter everything.
I'm going to pull up the picture because you know we can't do B-roll.
I'm going to put up the whiteboard probably in some of these. But like...
No, you're not. You could try. You could try.
I'm put it in the Google Drive. I don't know. Coy or Ken or someone's going to...
There's the photo.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Dude, it's just brilliant, dude. It's 3 fucking... A pineapple, Easter Island thing, and a rock. It's like... God damn, the whole... Like 80% of the show is right there.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get that? Basically, I was struggling. I'm like, okay, does Dird travel in time and he like collects these different organisms as he's time traveling and like brings them back and they just live in his attic like it's Jews in the Holocaust, and it's like just a funny thing where he tries to hide them and those are his friends, and like that's kind of interesting, right? He's got like a normal family, but like the whole time it was bugging me that like humans exist. I think it complicates the whole world. Like you don't have humans under the sea with SpongeBob. It's just fucking fishes. That's it. It's like we're under the sea, and a squirrel. So it's like Bureaucracity.
Dude, I know you said last episode you wanted to get away from like, you know, gaslighting yourself into thinking you have Asperger's every sentence you say, like in public.
Huh.
Like you got something. I don't know what it is, but like I would have just carried on with Bureaucracity. And you're like, yeah, I can't have humans. Like, it's just I
It's
can't have.
fucking messing everything up. You have humans next to the. I mean, like a lot of shows have it where it's humans next to like animals, and
Yeah,
the
but you're like
animals. Like,
SpongeBob. SpongeBob doesn't have humans,
it's just it's the
and
North
we need
Star.
them sometimes. That was why it was so confusing. Is we need them sometimes
Well,
because we're actually trying to teach about history and stuff.
I mean, I went crazy and I'm like, dude, what if fucking we want to teach about history? We need humans. Maybe we don't need humans. Maybe every Frenchman's just a croissant and like fucking Napoleon's just a bigger croissant or like smaller croissant, I guess. Or the Russians are
But
Russian dolls.
that problem was like if we're actually going to teach, then there's a very fine line between fact and fiction for us. And if we ever
Right.
breach that line, then the viewer doesn't know what to believe.
Right.
And so it might be funny if you just got croissant people, but like then it's like, what is true here?
Still not 100% opposed to croissant people. But yeah, so it's just it makes it messy. And so now I'm thinking like, okay, what would a world look like without humans? Right? Well maybe it's before humans. Like
Oh, dude, here's where you went. If we were in Bureaucracy, you're like staplers and scissors and pencils. Those are Dirt's friends.
those are
And I'm like, the V shape of the stapler is going to be hard. It's going to be really hard to work with.
Yeah, and I don't like that idea at all. But like, okay, so they can't be fucking office objects. Where are we? One idea is before humans. So it's like maybe we're like, I don't know, in like Ice Age times or something, and there just aren't humans. But then like, why would they travel to the future? Like, it kind of makes no sense that they'd go to the future if they don't even know about the future. Like, what would be the curiosity to like go and see World War II if you don't even know it exists? So it's like, all right, well, that's a problem. Maybe it's in the future. So like, we already know the past all happened. It's kind of like Bureaucracy, 100 years in the future, whatever. But it's like humans killed themselves in a nuclear war, or like AI took over and everyone's dead. Kind of like a lot of sci-fi is like this. But it just
like maybe they live on Dirt's planet, and Dirt lives on this like rainbow planet, and it's just it's like Pluto, and it's like far away. But every episode they need to go bring something from Earth to like learn a lesson on their planet. I'm like, why? Dude, like we got to travel to Earth every episode,
right?
I'd get so tired.
Riding around on my bike on the West Side Highway, and just like looking at people, and then I'd like go and sit on a bench and just look at people, and I'm like, how would Dirt observe the world? And it's I'm like, how is he seeing this? Is he a tree? Is he on like, I was just like trying to observe people, and then how would you? I don't know, dude. We've never tried this muscle before, so I'm fucking tweaking out. Point is, didn't really like all of that. It all felt off. And then I think, I don't know where the big breakthrough actually happened, but like in all of this, it's like, so Dirt's always just fucking butt fingering and then flying off with his rainbow to places. Do you know what I'm getting at? But like, do you know what made it happen?
What made it happen is you stared at a white wall in your content closet for literal 6 hours yesterday while I worked on a big project for CeraVe. And you texted me like, hey, dude, I'm going to need you soon because like this solitary confinement is actually going to kill me.
Right. It's not healthy.
And again, I'm busy. I ignore for like an hour, 2 hours. I'm like, yeah, I'm finishing up soon, dude. Hang in there.
Dude, you don't realize how dark.
I'll give you a call when I'm done.
It gets so. It's
you have nothing else. There's nothing else to occupy your time. It's just you, the photo of SpongeBob's street, and your content closet.
Right. On the whiteboard, I just have the characters like drawn out, and I'm just staring at the characters. I'm like, how does this turn into SpongeBob Street? And like we also
literal
because that's
myth of Sisyphus.
The hard thing is like we could do like these specimens somehow live on this street, but like we're also trying to teach. So I'm not trying to say it's harder than SpongeBob, but it's harder than SpongeBob. It's like trying to smash a lot together and do it in a really elegant way.
Right. It's like SpongeBob, but you actually have to come away from the episode learning the one most important thing. Say it's like World War One. I don't actually know what World War One was about. So you need to come away having learned that one specific thing and then be able to like remember and recall that thing for ideally 10 years or the rest of your life.
Right.
And when you're watching the episode, it doesn't feel like you're sitting down and learning from lecture. That ain't easy.
How?
And
I
so
don't know how
I
this
call you.
happened.
Well, I called you
Well, you
finally at
called
like
me.
6 p.m. Chicago time after you'd been in your content closet for 7 hours. I was done with work. I was going home to walk the dog.
And
Um,
start venting the problems. I don't know how to smash it all together.
you said I got a
Um,
lot of questions. I haven't figured out a single answer. Been alone all day. Help.
somehow we get back to like it's really pissing us off that like Dirt's on another planet and he'll like travel through time and it's kind of like a shtick, like he's always going to
And you
travel
have to
places.
do right. You have to do that every episode. I'm like, that's
Right.
fun for 5 episodes, but
Oh,
then
right. Like Rick and Morty kind of does it in whatever most of their episodes where they have the portal
yeah.
gun. It's kind of fun, but it also is like a shtick and like it kind of gets old. So I don't know where this idea came from.
Well, you go like you're like, well, kind of like when I would bring stuff to you and you're like, yeah, but where do they live? We're talking about all these time travel ideas and you're like, but why does he have to time travel? Why every episode does he have to go and learn and do and whatever something? And so you kind of inverted it. You're like, what if these things come to him? Oh, thumbs up.
Right.
What if instead of needing a reason in the setup of every episode to go travel and learn something, what would it look like if the reasons kind of came to him?
Right. It's like instead of Dirt is here and he goes to that world, what if that world literally just comes to him? And now it's like it feels less like a shtick of like he has this little reason, then he pops off. It's more like just the episode is centered in the same place, and so you kind of like build the other characters coming to him. It just feels a lot nicer somehow. I don't know how we like didn't think of that before. Maybe it's a weird idea. I don't know if this normally
Um,
happens in shows. I'm trying to think of a show where like crazy shit comes into town.
well, right. And so I guess the idea was like, let's not take this so literally. Like, Dirge's just living his life with his friends, this cast of friends that we really like. Okay, we like that. So he's just living his life with these friends. And then if it's in Bureaucracity and we're trying to teach about Abraham Lincoln or the Civil War, they're just having a normal day. And in the setup of the episode, like, let's say the normal day, the normal part of this episode is in the setup. Dirt and company are going to go watch a play in Bureaucracy, and it's super boring and it's gray and it's the crowd, the hubbub is just like, blah, 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 like everyone's just, and they're watching this play and it's super boring. And then Dird looks over to the left, to stage left, and in perfect vivid color, Dird sees a balcony with like Abraham Lincoln on it, as if like this vision came into this world that has lost all curiosity. And then Dird's the only person that can see it. Nobody else can. So he has to like go run over there. And when Dirt gets over to Lincoln, like, what the heck is that? He bumps shoulders with John Wilkes Booth. And then boom, you're in. There is no time travel. There is no device. It's like Dirt saw a vision that you don't normally see in Bureaucracy. And then he just enters that world.
So that was your
That was
idea.
that was my idea off of this inversion. And then you're like, well, wait. So when I was staring at the white wall for 8 hours, I had this Pangea idea. Actually, no, it wasn't even that. You were like, what about Pangea? Like, it's kind of funny when all the continents were together. Like, no one's ever done anything with Pangea.
Right.
And then
Right.
you
Because
had this idea about a rift or something.
we're we're talking about like it was annoying that like Hillenburg can just be like, hey, we're going under the sea. And like somehow 70% of the globe was just never touched. Like no one ever thought to make a show Under the Sea, or maybe they did, but it's just like hasn't been mainstream. It's like fucking
And now
brilliant.
it's
Now he
used.
just owns
Can't
Under
use
the
it.
Sea because now you're just copying SpongeBob. And so it's like, what environments are there? Like, are we in a volcano? Toy Story's like toys in a house. It's like we're struggling to find things. Like, is he deep in the Amazon? And like some tribes haven't found him. But I really like this idea. Like Ice Age was cool. We can't do that. I like Pangea. Just feels like a cool name, a cool concept that no one's ever touched. Another thing in our storyboard when we're going through, uh, we had this idea of like Dird kind of causes all the biggest events in history accidentally, kind of clumsily. So one of
Like
them
the
would be like,
butterfly wing flap to
yeah, that's
everything
just
else
Dird. I actually got Dird with butterfly
as a
wings
butterfly.
on my
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah. And so he's like one of them is he's flying through with the rainbow out his butt, and he like comes down like he's the meteor that kills all the dinosaurs, and he like causes it. And so
Right. He's causing in the 2-minute pilot we had storyboarded. Dird's clumsiness is causing all of these big events throughout history. He causes the single cell to go to 2 cells, which causes the walking fish. He is then kind of like the meteor to the dinosaurs. Shooting across the sky, he is the reason that the 4-footed apes stood up on 2 feet. So he had that like somewhere simmering,
so
but on accident, kind of.
in my head, when you say like your John Wilkes Booth and Bureaucracity and Dird also has his organism friends, I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me. It's kind of just like smashing a lot of things together because I'm like, okay, he has like a dinosaur and a walking fish friend in Bureaucracity, and like how the fuck did that happen? Like, are there humans there? Does the walking fish have pants? Like, what the fuck's going on
Yeah.
here? And like, just really confusing to me. Like, I get the idea.
You did text me midday one day. You're like, yeah, but does the walking fish have pants? I'm like, dude, we're trying to figure out the premise. You're like, no, I know, but like that informs this whole human problem you have. It's like, does the freaking walking fish have pants?
Right? Is he trying to be a human? Are they replacing humans or not? So I just had like it didn't feel elegant to me. I like the kind of vision thing, and it's colorful and it's like represents curiosity and stuff. But in my head, I'm like, oh, what if we took this Pangea thing, right? Pangea, and it's like Pangea. What was it? It was just a supercontinent that then split off and turned into all the little continents that we have now. Little. But what if like Dird came? Maybe he's still an alien. We don't know yet. But he's like, I guess he'd be in this case. He's like the last alien or something. He's flying through the air and he like hits into Pangea, and that's what causes the rift. Like he causes the tectonic plates and it splits. But now, sort of like the idea is it splits, but somehow this one like little piece of land in the middle where Dird hit, like that part is still there. It's this little island and everything like pushed out from it. But
Tiny
it got
speck.
like forgotten.
Just
Yeah,
his
this
little
tiny speck is
impact.
just right. Just imagine it in the middle of some ocean somewhere. And like there, the animals that were living on that tiny speck like survived. They've just been preserved. Sort of like kind of like Galapagos
They're
vibe
stuck.
of just yeah. They evolved separately, but like whatever was on Pangea is still there. So we can still get like this first bacteria. We can still get the walking fish or dinosaurs and stuff
A
because they have
dinosaur.
dinosaurs. Right. And so we can now build this SpongeBob world, and it's sort of like untouched by the world. But the idea of the show is like that can almost like exist throughout all of history. Like it's just always been there, and like history comes to it.
Right. So it's like everything, evolution, history, all of time continued on the 7 continents. But there's
Right.
this one, like Dird's Rift, Dird's Island, that kind of like a Bermuda Triangle. It's got some like weird properties about it where like things, objects, and people and ideas from history can just like appear here for whatever reason we want.
Well, one, it makes sense why these walking fish would have pants because they just developed independently, and like they also whatever like at some point wanted to be dressed, and so like that can actually make sense. Like it can make sense that like creatures evolved to have pants. And then it can make sense that like it is this place that's like in between the entire world interacting with itself. So if you have in one episode, Christopher Columbus, he's crossing through to go to the New World. Just happens that he like beached on this island, and it's kind of a joke, but like he beaches on whatever Dirt Island is called, and now he goes and interacts with the characters, and now the characters like get on his ship and then go with him to the New World, and now we're like exploring the New World with Christopher Columbus, but it's actually believable because like it's just fucking an island
We
out
don't
there
have
that
to
we
say
could have hit.
anything about time travel, about time. We could have like a date or something. But like
Yeah,
the setup, like the episode just starts in the thing we want to teach on
right.
this little Bermuda Triangle rift, where
Or
nothing kind of makes sense how it got there, but that's okay because it
so
doesn't have to.
I keep going down this rabbit hole of like, okay, somehow people get to the island. Maybe in like World War II, there's a bomber. It's like some B-2 bomber, B-17 bomber, whatever it was. It like crash lands on the island, and then it like picks dirt up, and now he goes to like learn about World War II. And it was like Churchill was on it or something. Or I don't know. The like
The Mayflower
the
was one we were talking about.
Mayflower, yeah, they come over and
Christopher
I don't know. It's
Columbus.
like
You're like maybe a German U-boat.
right.
This is when I started to have issues. I was like, oh, okay. So it's always a boat, a plane, a traveler on horseback. Like it's always something has to be traveling through this island. And again, I'm like, that's gonna get really tired after 6 episodes. Our only device then is transportation.
Right. And then you have the idea somewhere where it's like, what if we like on this mythical little island, Bermuda Triangle, like it doesn't have to be reality. Like, what if one day we're trying to teach about the Revolutionary War and like Durr just wakes up, goes to get some bubblegum, and he sees like a bubblegum tax. And he's like, the fuck? Why is my bubblegum an extra shell? Like caught because they don't have coins. That's how they shells their money. Why is it an extra shell? And he looks up and there's just a red coat. And he's like, the red coat like just bought the business. And he's like, whatever. This is the new law. And it's like now you get a red coat and it can be an actual human. Like this is a human character that now comes into Dirt World, and like maybe the humans also like surprised at first of why he's talking to fucking alien or why
It's
he's
like
talking to...
I thought I was in the courtroom. Like what?
Right. They kind of like accidentally stumble into it. It feels like there have
But
been
there doesn't
movies that
have
do
to be.
something like
But
that.
there doesn't have to be a reason. And then we're saying like, what can happen then is the premise, the setup is like there's a new tax on Pangea. There's a new tax,
Mhm.
and then maybe at one point this redcoat behind the counter because Dirge just pissing him off, slams his fist down. We have a close up on that, and like that is the portal. That is the inciting action where we go from fist close up to like gavel in the courtroom or whatever it is.
Yeah, I still
And then
don't
all of
know
a sudden Dirge just
100% on
there.
that. Part of me wants like the red coat to kind of like chase him behind a tree, and like when he goes behind the tree he just comes out to a new world, like kind of like Narnia
Yeah.
thing of like it's just like you don't know what's going to transport, but like rather than match cutting that, it's just like he goes in a little cave, or he goes across the river, or like he goes whatever, climbs up a tree and he's just there, like some action. But yeah, somehow it goes from like the outside world like sort of accidentally enters Dirt Island world, and then Dirt's like, what the fuck is this? And then he gets angry about the tax and like goes back to like team up with Ben Franklin and Jefferson and like declare independence and have a tea party and do everything.
Learns about it for 8 minutes,
Yeah.
comes back to the island, and it's like most
No
of
more
these
tea
shows
tax.
just end with like a yeah. Well, I guess I know now. It's like
But
we
it
were
doesn't
watching a
even
Rick
have to
and
be
Morty
like...
episode. It just ends with Rick going like, "All right, well, we'll see you next week." It's like, what?
The difference though, I think originally we wanted Dird to like be curious about something. He's like, hey, how do ants work? And then he like fucking blasts off and goes to the ant size and figures that out, comes back and he's like, now I know. But like in this world, what I think is cooler is somehow the outside world, whatever was causing the problem in the outside world, is also causing the problem now on Dirt Island. So
And so the
Dirt's
setup and
like
the resolution,
trying
yeah,
to get the redcoats out because he's like, this fucking quartering act, dude. I don't want to put this redcoat up in my pineapple. And then fucking, so at the end of it, they like defeat the British. He comes back and he's like, thank God we got rid of the redcoats. So it's like an actual problem that they're actually having versus like he just wanted to have this interesting piece of knowledge. And
right.
that's kind of like a bit that would just get old. But this is like the world is actually
It's
impacted.
going to, and it'd be different every single time.
Yeah. Huh. Fucking sweet. So a couple things. Well, no, hold on. Fuck, dude. You cocked back. That's the what's the animation thing where it's like
Anticipation, I think.
anticipation, dude. There's anticipation. Um, what what we're kind of upset about is we had like an hour and a half call yesterday unlocking this. We didn't really get to document it. This is kind of like the post game report. It'd be a
Yeah.
lot cooler if we recorded some of this stuff in action. So I think we're gonna try and record a lot of our brainstorming sessions. I don't know if it's gonna
I don't
work or
know.
not. Maybe we'll
I don't
shut it
know
down.
what we're gonna do, but yeah, I was like, "Fuck, does the daily vlog come back?" Probably not because it sucked. But we loved. There's like behind the scenes in the SpongeBob studio of like the first 4 seasons,
Mm,
and it's so fun.
right. Like right now, we have this hazy idea of there's an island. We don't know what it's called. We don't know like exactly who's living there, what they're living in, what their jobs are. We don't know what that world looks like yet. So that's what we're gonna try and create, and maybe create it on the air. So,
Garden!